what you want. Come feel this sensation. Sliding smooth and low like a secret invitation. So smooth. Every tone whispers soft. Can you feel it? The undertow. Pull me closer, baby. You know where I wanna go. Ooh, feel it, baby, nice and slow. Ooh, yeah, I let your rhythm consume my soul. Yeah. Ooh, yeah, listen to my sweet surrender. Now that feels so soft, I know, so tender. Let your body sway, baby, my voice has you gliding. Feel it, whispers in your ear, feel the thrill as they're colliding. Steamy tone, sultry breeze, oh, it's got you mesmerized. Follow the sound, darling, I'll touch you where it tantalizes. Ooh, feel it, baby, nice and slow. Yeah.
That one's always hilarious.
I was getting rocked to sleep with that, man.
I was.
I was like,
Yeah.
I'm vibing.
Yeah.
I know, I was a little comfortable there.
Well,
The old eyelids were getting a little heavy.
or something.
I was about to fall
something.
asleep. I was like,
So
this is nice and sultry and
Oh, yeah.
smooth and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm really relaxed right now.
Well, the lovely dictionary diva was so kind enough to send this over, and she said, "You know what? You should check this out because we're all. I this week has been a little busy for me, and I didn't have an opportunity, and I was just like, I'm gonna do the Peter Pan stuff. Sorry." And Diva was like, "No. I got something for you. I got something for you."
I
I
got
was
you.
like,
I got you.
anything but Peter Pan, please.
Anything but Peter Pan.
The story sucked.
So we have the Maid of Toulouse, and it is the
How do you
Lord of
say it
Valennes.
again?
Toulouse.
Toulouse? Toulouse?
Yes.
Okay.
French.
Toulouse.
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 Oui, oui.
I mean, not tight, but never mind.
Oh.
Oh, that was good.
Oh,
All right, I like
Oh my
it.
goodness.
Nice job.
Mhm.
The Lord of Valennes, a pleasant place of which castles not far from the town of Toulouse, had taken a mean wife, who, by reason of taste or antipathy, pleasure or displeasure, health or sickness, allowed her good husband to abstain from those pleasures stipulated for in all contracts of marriage. No humpty.
No hanky panky.
None of that. In order to be just, it would be stated that the above-mentioned lord was a dirty and ill-favored person,
Ew.
always hunting wild animals, and the not more entertaining than not the more entertaining than a room full of smoke. And what is more, the said sportman was all of 60 years of age, old man,
Ew.
by which subject, however, he was silent as a hempen widow on the subject of rope.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh.
hey! Now we're getting
wordy
somewhere.
up in here.
I'm getting a little hentai, okay.
Oh.
Hey. Oh. But nature, which the crooked and the bandy-legged, the blind and the ugly abuse so unmercifully here below, and have no more esteem for her than the well-favored, since, like workers of tapestry, they know not what they do, gives them the same appetite to all of the same mouth for pudding. Pudding, see? Right there. So every beast finds a mate, And from the same fact comes the proverb, there is no pot, however ugly, that does not one day find a cover. Now, the Lord
Right
of
key, but the
Valence,
wrong keyhole.
yes.
Mhm.
Well, he searched everywhere for nice little pots to cover. In addition to the wild, he hunted tame animals like cats and dogs, but this kind of game was scarce in the land, and it was an expensive affair to discover a maid. At length, however, by reason of much ferreting about and much inquiry, it happened that the Lord of Valence was informed that the Toulouse was the widow of a weaver who had a real treasure in the person of a little damsel of 16 years. That's Kitty's,
Red flag.
whom she had
Not
never
back then.
allowed.
Not
No,
back
not
then.
back then. You have to remember this is a long time ago.
Long, long.
Okay,
married-
I'm just saying
Hey,
for the
they married
YouTube
him off at
censors.
12 back then. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, she'd have been a spinster at that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and she probably would have not survived past the age of 30. So,
no.
Yeah.
whom she had never allowed to leave her apron springs, and by whom, with great maternal forethought, she always accompanied when the calls of nature demanded her obedience. She had her to sleep with her in her own bed, watched over her, got her up in the morning, and put her to such a work that between the twain they gained about 8 pennies a day. On, I'm not sure that word, I think it's fat days, she took her to church, I guess Sundays maybe,
Maybe.
scarcely giving her a spare moment to exchange a merry word with the young people. Above all, she was strict in keeping hands off the maiden. Yeah.
Mm.
Wow.
Guess it's better than a chastity belt.
That's
I
her.
guess so. That is her. She's got some distorted figures, but okay.
She's looking a little
Okay.
rough.
All right. But the
I mean, they
times
did drink
were-
a lot of mead back then, right?
True.
So
Yeah.
she could have beer goggles. She'd have been hot. Yeah. Okay. I get it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the times were just then so hard that the widow and her daughter had only bread enough to save them from dying of hunger. And as they lodged with one of their poor relations, they often wanted wood in winter and clothes in summer, owning enough rent to frighten the sergeants of justice, men who are not easily frightened at the deaths of others. In short, while the daughter was increasing in beauty, the mother was increasing in poverty and ran into debt on accounts of her daughter's virginity. As an alchemist will for the crucible in which is all is cast, as soon as his plans were arranged and perfect, one rainy day the said Lord of Valence by mere chance came into the hovel of the two spinners. Spinners?
Spinners.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They were short.
Very short. And in order to dry himself, sent for some
You can say that word.
fagots.
Yeah, it just means
Fagos.
wood.
Fagal.
It just means wood.
Fagot. Fagot to
Fagot?
Pulissus close by. While waiting for them, he sat on a stool between the two poor women. By means of the gray shadows and half light of the cabin, he saw the sweet countenance of the maid of Toulouse. Her arms were red and firm, her breasts hard as bastions, which kept the cold from her heart, her waist round as a young oak,
Get the cold from her heart.
and
Sorry.
all fresh and clean and pretty, like the first frost, green and tender as an April bud. In fact, she resembled all that is prettiest in the world. She had eyes of a modest, virtuous blue, and a look of more coy than that of a virgin, for she was less
Knew it.
forward, never having had a child. Had any one said to her, "Come, let us make love," she would have said, "Love, what is that?" She was so innocent, so little open to the comprehensions of the thing. The good old Lord twisted about on his stool, eyeballing that maid and stretching his neck like a monkey trying to catch nuts, which the mother noticed but said
Somebody's
not a
catching nuts.
word. Being in fear of the Lord, oh, to whom the whole country belonged. And when the little fagot
Oh.
was put into the grate and flared up, the good hunter said to the old woman, that warms I'll let Diva say that. She's got that down.
That warms one almost as much as your daughter's eyes.
Oh.
Yes. Oh, that was a guy.
That was
I'm
a
sorry.
That
dude.
was a
I mean,
dude.
That was
I
a
can
dude.
sound like that. Hey, that's really good. Your daughter's real pretty right there.
Hey.
That warms one almost as much as your daughter's eyes.
Somehow
Miss
that
Noc-
just
Miss-
crosses a line.
Miss Nocturne, you want to be the mother or the daughter in this one?
You know what? I'll be the mother here. All right.
Well, there you go.
So which one is that? Do I go ahead and start here?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But alas, my lord, said she, we have nothing to cook on that fire.
Oh, yes,
Replied,
replied he.
What?
My good woman, lend your daughter to my wife, who has need of a good handmaiden. We will give you 2 fagots every day.
Give me a second to collect
Or
myself.
pudding pops.
Oh,
2
my
bundles of
lord.
sticks. Okay.
What could I cook at such a good fire?
Why, replied the old rascal, good broth, for I will give you a measure of corn in season.
Then replied,
the old-
where shall I put it?
I can tell you where you need to put it. You need to put it in the dish.
Answered the purchaser of innocence.
But I have neither dish nor flour bin nor anything.
Well, I will give you dishes and flour bins, saucepans, flagons, a good
Flagons,
bed with
yeah.
curtains, and everything.
Why, yes.
Replied the good widow.
But the rain would spoil them. I have no house.
You can see from here
Replied the Lord.
the house of La Bamba, who the hell knows, where lived my poor huntsman Pilgrim, who was ripped up by a bear.
Four.
Boar.
Boar.
Piggy.
What? Boar.
Yeah.
What the- I call it the bear. The damn words are so small, you get what you get. Shizzy forgets he's on a 50-inch monitor and the rest of us are on like 10-inch.
Not
can't
my
get this
fault.
done.
Mine's
I can't-
larger.
Fine.
Well,
I mean,
I can't help that I'm reading off a postage stamp here.
right?
guys, now stop. Size doesn't always matter, okay?
Yes, it does.
Yes,
Don't
it
lie.
does.
It absolutely does.
Well, it's not just size, it's girth.
Like a cheese wheel.
Neither matters if you don't know what the hell you're doing. So anyway, or if you can't read it all. So where are we? Yes,
Said the old woman.
Well, you can make yourself at home there for the rest of your days in the basement.
By my faith,
Cried that mother, letting fall her distaff.
do you mean what you say?
Well, of course, yes.
Well then, what will you give my daughter?
You probably don't want to know what I'm going to give your daughter.
Oh, I'm going to give it to her, all right.
I'm going to give it to her. All that she is willing to gain in my service.
Oh, my lord, you are a joking.
No, I don't joke about things like that.
Yes,
Said she.
By Saint-cation, Jesus, I can't pronounce these French words.
Just
And
make
by
it
the
up.
1,000,000,000 saints who are in heaven, I swear that
Oh, well, if you are not jesting, I should like those fagots to pass through the hands of the notary.
By the blood of Christ and the charms of your daughter, am I not a gentleman? Is my word not good? Is not my word good enough?
But if I am selling my child, well, I don't say that it is not, okay? But as true as I am a poor spinner, I love my child too much to leave her. She is too young and weak at present. She will break down in service.
That's the point.
Oh,
Ay. Yesterday in his sermon, the vicar said that we should have to answer to God for our children. I hope you remember that.
There. Yes, hush and go find the notary.
An old woodcutter ran to the scrivener. Scrivener.
You
Yes,
should know
it's
that
correct.
word.
I do know the word, damn it. Who came up and drew up that there contract to which that there Lord of the Valens then put his cross, not knowing how to write a damn thing, and when all was signed and sealed.
Well, old lady,
Said he.
now you are no longer answerable to God for the virtue of your child.
My lord, the vicar said until the age of reason, my child is quite reasonable.
Then turning towards her, she added,
Marie Ficquet, what? That which, hold on, that which swearest to you, hold on, I've lost my place now.
yeah, I'm sorry about that.
That which is dearest to you is your honor. And there where you are going and quit moving the shit. There where you are going, everyone, without counting, my lord, will you try to rob you of it. But you see, well, what it is worth. For that reason, do not lose it. Save willingly in proper manner. Now, in order not to contaminate your virtue before God and before man, except for a legitimate motive, backdoor, take heed that your chance of marriage not be damaged beforehand. Otherwise, you will go to the bad.
Oh, yeah, we like it when they go to the bad.
Oh, yes, dear mother.
And thereupon she left the poor abode of her relation and came to the chateau of Valence, there to serve milady, who found her both pretty and to her taste. When the people of Valence, Sac, Valence, and other places learned the high price given for the maid of Toulouse, the good housewives recognized the fact that nothing is more profitable than virtue, endeavored to nourish and bring up their daughters virtuous, but the business was as risky as that of rearing silkworms, which are liable to perish, since innocence is like a medlar and ripens quickly on the straw. There were, however, some girls noted for it in Touraine who passed for virgins in the covenants of the religious, but I cannot really vouch for these, not having proceeded to verify them in the manner laid down by Verville. In order to make sure of the perfect virtue of women, they check them.
How do they do that?
Hey, I've met some chicks like that.
Yes. Mary.
They look all sweet and innocent, but they are not.
Nope. However, Marie Ficquet followed the wise counsel of her mother and would take no notice of the soft requests, honeyed her words, or apish tricks of her master, unless they were flavored with a promise of marriage. Then the old lord tried to kiss her. She would put her back up like a cat at the approach of a dog, crying out,
I will tell madame.
In short, at the end of 6 months, he had not recovered the price of a single fagot. From her labor, Marie Ficquet became harder and firmer. Sometimes she would reply the gentle request of her master.
When you have taken it from me, will you give it back to me again?
Sort of like a snowball. Another time
Nobody
she
rides
would
for
say,
Ew.
If I were as full of holes as a sieve, not
Oop.
one should be for you. So ugly do I think you.
The good old man took these villages sayings for flowers of innocence, and ceased not make little signs to her, long harangues and hundreds vows and sermons, for by reason of seeing the fine breasts of the maid, her plump hips, which at certain movements came into prominent relief, and by reason of admiring other things capable of inflaming the mind of a saint, this dear man became enamored of her with an old man's passion, which arguments in geometrical proportions as oppressed to the passions of young men, because the old men love with their weaknesses, which grows greater and larger and stronger, and the young with their strength, which
That
grows
happens.
less. In order to leave this headstrong girl no loophole for refusal, the old lord took into his confidence the steward, whose age was 70-odd years, and made him understand that he ought to marry in order to keep his body warm, and that Marie Fickwit was the very girl to suit him. Well, this here old steward, who had gained 300 pounds by different services about the house, desired to live quietly without opening the front door again. Like, get thee away from me. But his good master begged him to marry to please him, assuring him that he needed not trouble about his wife. So the good steward wandered out of sheer good nature into this here marriage.
Of course, just good nature.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Things happen.
Well,
Come on.
the day of that their wedding, bereft of all reasons and not able to find objections to her pursuers, she made him give her a fat settlement and dowry as the price of her conquest, and then gave the old knave leave to wink at her as often as she could, promising him as many embraces as he had given grains of wheat to her mother. But at his age, a bushel was sufficient.
Damn.
It is. Bushel is sufficient.
He's very near kicking the bucket.
The festivities over, the Lord did not fail as soon as his wife had retired to wend his ways towards the well-glazed, well-carpeted, and pretty
Lace that
room
carpet.
where he had lodged his lass, his money, his fagots, his house, his wheat. Stewart, to be brief, know that he found the maid of Toulouse with the sweetest girl in the world, as pretty as anything, by the soft light of the fire which was gleaming in the chimney, snug between the sheets, and with a sweet odor about her, as a young maiden should have. And in fact, he had no regret for the great price of this jewel, not being able to restrain himself from hurrying over the first mouthfuls of his royal morsel. The Lord treated her more as past master than young beginner. So the happy man, by too
Feel
much
uncomfortable.
gluttony,
Okay.
managed badly. He managed badly, just so you know. And
damn.
in fact, he knew nothing of the sweet business of love, finding which the good wench said, after a minute to her old cavalier,
My lord, if you are there, as I think you are, give a little more swing to your bells.
Oh my.
Work it.
I mean,
Use them hips.
we've all said that in some form or fashion at some point. I don't think I've said give a swing to your bells, but more of like, I mean, they're a little change it around a little bit. I get it. So that's an old fashioned. Yeah, are you done? I get it. Okay.
So
Okay. I get it. I get it now.
I guess riding the horse was out of the question.
I guess so.
I didn't even tell he was there. She's like, if you're there, then you need to put a little more into it, son.
Gotta give it the
From this saying, which became spread about, I know not how, Mary Fickwit became famous, and it is still said in our country,
She is a maid of Toulouse.
A mockery of a bride, and to signify a friquenelle. Friquenelle is said of a girl I do not wish to find in your arms on your wedding night unless you have been brought up in the philosophy of Zeno, which puts up with anything, and there are many people obliged to be stoics in this fudgy situation, which is often met with, for nature turns, but changes not, and there are always good maids of Toulouse to be found in Touraine and elsewhere. Now, if you ask me in what consists or where comes in the moral of this tale, I'm at liberty to reply to the ladies that the Saint Count de Rolantos are made more to teach the moral of pleasure than to procure the pleasure of pointing a moral. And if it were used up old rascal who asked me, I would say to him with all the respect due to his yellow or gray locks, that God wishes to punish the Lord of Valence for not trying to purchase a jewel made to be given.
That's pretty good.
It's still
actually.
easier
I
to read than
loved
Peter
that.
Pan.
Yeah, it's a good
Oh,
little
yes.
story. It was a good one.
Yeah.
I was like,
That was a good one.
you'll like this one. You'll like this because it's got a lot of
Yes.
little double entendres. You get the sense that, the mama knew it was up.
Yeah,
she's
it's
like-
yeah.
cheeky, fancy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and
Fancy.
these are sort of translated, so they can be a little bit funky to get, but not as funky as this right there. Emma Washington with a $2 super chat saying,
Hey,
"Hi,
hey,
how is
hey.
everyone today? We are
Hey.
doing wonderful, and I'll catch you tomorrow with a star. Just remind me. I'll catch you with one of those." Good to see you. Did you find this in the Penthouse Forum? No, but we plan on reading those at some point in time too. Well, you're going to have to wait for about another 70 or 80 years, whenever they.
Puddletown, are you a frequent avid reader?
Get out there, daughter, and make me some monies.
That's right.
Ah, yes.
Get to work, girl.
Get to work, girl.
You better work it, girl. Okay.
Hmm.
All right, here you go, Kaiser. We'll let you start out this one here.
Oh, my turn, huh? All right.
Mhm.
The Archbishop of Bordeaux had added to his suite when going to the Council of Constance quite a good-looking little priest of Touraine, whose ways and manner of speech were so charming that he passed for a son of Le Sorel and the governor. The Archbishop of Tours had willingly given him his confern for his journey to that town, because it was unusual for archbishops to make each other's presents. They well knowing how sharp are the itchings of theological palms. Thus, the young priest came to the council and was lodged in the establishment of his prelate, a man of good morals and great science. Philippe de Mala, as he was called, resolved to behave well and worthily to serve his protector, but he was in this mysterious council many men leading a dissolute life, and yet not making less, nay, gaining more indulgences, gold crowns, and benefices than all the other virtuous and well-behaved ones. Now, during one night, dangerous to his virtue, the devil whispered into his ear
What did he
that
say?
he should live more luxuriously, since everyone sucked the blessing.
Oh,
Hey.
wow.
I like them titties. What I gotta say. And yet they not drained a miracle which proved beyond doubt the existence of God. And the priest of Touraine did not disappoint the devil. He promised to feast himself, to eat his bellyful of roast meats and other German delicacies, when he could do so without paying for them, as he was poor. as he remained quite content, in which he followed the example of the poor old archbishop, who sinned no longer paying for, or because he was unable to, and what are you doing?
What's happening, man? I can't see it. There we go.
There, is that better?
It's fine. I just lost my place for a second, and then it's like, what happened?
Right here.
He had to suffer from intolerable desires, followed by fits of melancholy, since there were so many sweet courtesans, well developed but cold to other people, who inhabited Constance to enlighten the understanding of the fathers of the council. He was savage that he did not know how to make up these gallant sirens who snubbed cardinals, abbots, councillors, legates, and bishops, princes, and mulgraves, just as if they had been penniless clerks. And in the evenings after prayers, he would practice speaking to them, teaching himself the breviary of love. He taught himself to answer all possible questions, but on the morrow, if by chance he met one of the aforementioned princesses dressed out, seated in a litter, and escorted by her proud and well-armed pages, he remained open-mouthed like a dog in the act of catching flies at the sight of sweet countenance that had much inflamed him. The secretary of Monsignor, a gentleman of Peregrine, having clearly explained to him that the fathers, procurers, and auditors much inflamed him, of the rota brought by certain presents, not relics or indulgences, but jewels of gold, the favor of being familiar with the best of these pampered cats, who lived under the protection of the lords of the council. The poor Turanian, all simpleton and innocent as he was, treasured up under the mattress the money given to him by the good archbishop for writings and copying, hoping one day to have enough to see a cardinal's lady love, a trusting to God. Money, for the rest. Yeah. He was hairless from top to toe and resembled a man as much as a goat with a nightdress on, resembled a young lady, but prompted by his desires, he wandered in the evenings throughout the streets of Constance, careless of his life, and at the risk of having his body halberded by the soldiers, he peeped at the cardinals entering the houses of their sweethearts. Then he saw the wax candles lighted in the houses, and suddenly the doors and windows closed. Then he heard the blessed abbots and others jumping about, drinking, enjoying themselves, love-making, singing Alleluia, and applauding the music with which they were being regaled. The kitchen performed miracles, and offices said were fine rich potfuls. The matins sweet little hams, the vespers luscious mouthful, and the lafews delicate sweetmeats. And after their little carouses, these brave priests were silent, their pages diced upon the stairs, their mules stamped recessively in the streets. Everything went well, but faith and religion was there. That is how it came to pass that the good man Huss was burned. And the reason? He put his finger in a pie without being asked.
Hey,
I'm sure he did.
Thou shalt not get caught, okay?
Yeah.
He was sticking things in he was sticking a finger in a very different pie, my friends.
Well, that'll get you too.
Then why was he Where's a Huguenot?
No, it's a Huguenot.
Huguenot.
It's a Huguenot.
Sorry, before the others. Sorry, French is a little weird for me. French is not a weird. It's not a
weird
real
for
language. I'm just gonna say.
Everybody. It's weird, man.
It's weird, baby.
Excuse me.
There are a few things that French do
Sinus
very
infection's
well.
been getting me.
Language is not one of them.
To return, however, to our sweet Philippi, not unfrequently did he receive many a thump and a hard blow, but
Oh yeah.
the devil sustained him, inciting him to
Go,
believe that
Philip.
sooner or later it would
Well.
come to his turn to play the cardinal to some lovely dame. His ardent desire gave him the boldness of a stag in autumn.
Yeah.
He rutting around, boys. So much so that one evening he quietly tripped up the steps and into one of the first houses in Constance, where often he had seen officers, seneschals, valets, and pages waiting with torches for their masters, dukes, kings, cardinals, and archbishops.
Ah,
Said he.
she must be very beautiful and amiable, this here one.
A soldier, well armed, allowed him to pass, believing him to belong to the suite of the Elector of Bavaria, who had just left, and that he was going to deliver a message on behalf of the above-mentioned nobleman. Philippi de Mala mounted the stairs as lightly as a greyhound in love, and was guided by the delectable odor of perfume to a certain chamber where, surrounded by her handmaidens, the lady of the house was divesting herself of her attire.
Ooh.
He,
Oh, yeah.
You get naked.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm. He stood quite dumbfounded, like a thief surprised by sergeants. The lady was without petticoat or headdress.
Oh.
The chambermaid and the servants busy taking off her
Scandalous.
stockings and undressing her
Boom.
so quickly and dexterously had her stripped that the priest, overcome, gave a long,
Vent.
which had the flavor of love about it.
She's
Nasty
wearing her good
dude.
robe.
Nasty.
All right. Go ahead, ladies.
Which one you want to do? I don't care. All right, I'll do it. What do you want, little one?
Said the lady to him.
To
Yeah, well-
my soul, to you.
Said he, flashing his eyes upon her.
You can come again tomorrow.
Said she, in order to be rid of him. To which Philippi replied, blushing,
I will not fail.
struck motionless. He stood quite at his ease, letting wander over his eyes that glowed and sparked with the flame of love. What lovely thick hair hung upon the ivory white back, showing sweet white places, fair and shining between the many tresses. She had upon her snow white brow a ruby circlet, less fertile in rays of fire than her black eyes, still moist with tears from her hearty laugh. She even threw her slipper at a statue gilded like a shrine, twisting herself about from very ribaldry, and allowed her bare foot, smaller than a swan's bill, to be seen. This evening she was in good humor. Otherwise,
you
she would have
slut.
had the little shaven crop put out by the windows without more ado than her first bishop.
Oh, he has fine eyes, madam.
Said one of her handmaids.
Where does he come from? Oh,
Asked another.
who is madam? Is that
You
me?
are.
Okay.
Yeah, poor child.
Poor child.
Cried Madam.
His mother must be looking for him. Show him his way home.
The Turanian, still sensible, gave a movement of delight at the sight of the brocaded bed, where the sweet form was about to repose. This glance, full of amorous intelligence, woke the lady's fantasy, who, half laughing and half smitten, repeated,
Tomorrow.
and dismissed him with a gesture which the Pope Jehan himself would have obeyed, especially as he, like a snail without a shell, since the council had just deprived him of the holy keys.
Oh, madam, there is another vow of chastity changed into an amorous desire.
Said one of her women, as the chuckles commenced again, thick as hail. Philippi went on his way, bumping his head against the wall like a hooded rook as he was. So giddy had he become at the sight of this creature, even more enticing than a siren rising from the water. He noticed the animals carved over the door and returned to the house of the archbishop with his head full of diabolical longings and his entrails sophisticated.
Oh, yeah. Giggity, giggity.
He's hard as hell.
You know what he did last night?
Yep.
Well,
Once in
gotta
his
relieve
little
the tension
room, he
somehow.
counted his coins all night long, but could not make more than 4 of them, as that was all his treasure, he counted upon satisfying the fair one by giving her all he had in the world.
Oh.
Boy, what ails you, son?
Said the good archbishop, uneasy with the groans and the errs of his clerk.
No.
Oh, my lord.
Answered the poor priest.
I am wondering
I thought
how
this was
is it
Cartman.
that... Do what? Is this
Yeah, I thought you were
Philippe?
Cartman.
Are you
Yeah.
Philippe?
Is it Philippe?
This is Philippe. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is Philippe.
Sorry. I'm wondering how it is that so light and sweet a woman can weigh so heavily upon my heart.
Boy, which one you be talking about?
Said the archbishop, putting down his breviary, which he was reading from others, the good man.
Oh, Mother of God. You must scold me. I know, my good master.
Awesome.
My protector, because I have seen the lady of a cardinal at the least. And I am weeping because I lack more than 1 crown to enable me to convert her.
Is that what
The
they call
archbishop,
it now?
the archbishop, knitting the circumflex accent that he had above his nose, said not a word. Then the very humble priest trembled in his skin to have confessed so much to his superior, but the holy man directly said to him,
Boy, she must really got some ass if you want to get in that.
What a fine ass it was. She swallowed many a leader and stolen many a cross, if you know what I mean.
Stealing many children,
Well,
too.
boy, let me tell you, if though you're going to renounce her, well, I'll present thee with 30 inches from that there poor box over there. So go on digging.
Oh, my lord, I should be losing too much.
replied the lad, emboldened by the treat he promised himself.
Oh, son, why don't you go there, go to the devil and displease that there God like all our cardinals.
And the master,
Well,
with
apparently it's
sorrow,
not the
began
first
to-
time it's happened there.
I love you one out, boy.
Go get your
I'd
son.
say we're doing this again. All right. Okay.
Here we are
And the
again.
master, with sorrow, began to pray to Saint Gatian, the patron saint of innocence, to save his servant. He made him kneel down beside him, telling him to recommend himself also to Saint Philippe. But the wretched priest implored the saint beneath his breath to prevent him from failing, if on the morrow that the lady should receive him kindly and mercifully. And the good archbishop, observing the fervor of his servant, cried out to him,
Boy, just go get your rocks off.
On the morrow, while Monsignor was claiming that the council against the shameless behavior of the apostles of Christianity, Philippe de Malles spent his angels, acquired with such labor in perfumes, baths, fomentations, and other fooleries. He played the fop so well, one would have thought him a fancy cavalier of a gay lady. He wandered about the town in order to find the residence of his heart's queen. And when he asked the passers-by to whom belonged the aforementioned house, they laughed in his face, saying,
"Whence comes this precious fellow? If you not heard of La Belle Imperious?" Jeez.
He was very much afraid. He and his angels were gone to the devil when he heard the name and knew it as like knew into what a nice mess he had voluntarily fallen. You done effed up, boy.
Just remember, every time you play with yourself, an angel dies.
Like all those times, you it's like you're told, like, it's like, hey, you'll go blind doing that. And you always want to reply, Dad, I'm over here.
Converter, is that what we're calling it these days? More like you be converted, son.
You're about to have a religious experience, boy.
I'm getting a little hoarse.
All right. I'll take over for a little bit. Imperia was the most precious, the most fantastic girl in the world, although she passed for the most dazzling and the most beautiful, and the one who's best understood the art of bamboozling cardinals and softening the hardest soldiers and oppressors of the people. She had brave captains, archers, and nobles ready to serve her at every turn. She had only to breathe a word, and the business of anyone who offended her was settled. A free fight only brought a smile to her lips, and often the Sire de Bondecourt, one of the king's captains, would ask her if there were anyone he could kill for her that day, a little joke at the expense of the abbots.
That's nice.
With the exception of the patents, and among the high clergy whom Madame Imperia managed to accommodate with her little tempers, she ruled everyone with a high hand, in virtue of her pretty babble and enchanting ways, which enthralled the most virtuous and most unimpressionable. Thus she lived beloved and respected quite as much as the real ladies and princesses, and was called Madame, concerning which good emperor Sigismund would reply to a lady who complained of it to him, that the good ladies might keep their own proper way and holy virtues, and Madame Imperia to the sweet naughtiness of the goddess Venus.
I like her already. Yeah.
Sweet naughtiness.
Oh, yeah. I like this lady.
Christian words which shocked them, their good ladies, to their credit be it said. Well, Philippe, then thinking over in his mind that which of the preceding evening he had seen with his eyes, doubted if more or not did remain behind. Then was he sad, and without taking a bite or sup, strolled about the town, waiting the appointed hour, although he was well favored and gallant enough to find others less difficult to overcome than was Madame Imperia. The night came, the little Tyrrhenian, exalted with pride in comparison with desire, and spurred by his alaks and alasses, which nearly choked him, glided like an eel into the domicile
He was
of
gilded like an eel.
Whoa.
Hey.
Damn.
He just slid into that domicile that their veritable queen of the council, for before her bowed humbly all the authority, science, and wisdom of Christianity. The major domo did not know him and was going to bundle him out again when one of the chamberwomen called him from top the stairs.
Imbert, it is Madame's young fellow.
And poor Philippe, blushing like a wedding night, ran up those stairs and shaking with happiness and delight, and probably a bit of a hard on. That there servant took him by the hand and led him into the chamber where sat Madame, lightly attired like a brave woman who awaits her conqueror. The dazzling Imperial was seated near a table covered with a shaggy cloth ornamented with gold. Okay. And with all the requisites of a dainty carouse, flagons of wine, various drinking glasses, bottles of the Hippocras, flasks full of good wine of Cyprus, pretty boxes full of spices, roast peacocks, green sauces, little salt hams, and all that would gladden the eyes of the gallant if he had not so madly loved Madame Imperia. She saw well that the eyes of the young priest were all for her. Although accustomed to the curl-paper devotion of the churchmen, she was well satisfied that she had made a conquest of the young priest who all day long had been in her head. The windows had been closed. Madame was decked out in a manner fit to do honors to a prince of the empire. Then the rogue, beautified by the holy beauty of Imperia, knew that the emperor, Burggraf, nay, even the cardinal about to be elected pope, would willingly for that night have changed places with him, a little priest who beneath his gown had only, well, the devil's glove.
He was ready.
Yeah, he was. Oh.
Well, he put on a lordly air and saluted her with the courtesy by no means ungraceful.
One man salute.
And then that sweet lady said to him, regaling him with a piercing glance.
Who is that? Is that me?
That's
okay.
you.
That's you.
Come and sit close to me, that I may see if you have altered since yesterday.
Sweet. Oh, yes.
And how?
Yesterday.
Replied the artful fellow.
I love you today. We love each other. And from a poor sinner, I've become richer than a king.
Oh, little one, little one.
She cried merrily.
Yes, you are indeed changed. And from a priest, I see well you have turned into a little old devil.
And side by side they sat down before a large fire, which helped to spread their ecstasy around. They remained always ready to begin eating, seeing that they only thought of gazing into each other's eyes and never touched a dish. Just as they were beginning to feel comfortable and at their ease, there came a great noise at Madame's door, as if people were beating against it and crying out.
Madame,
Cried the little servant hastily.
there's another of them.
Who is it?
Cried she in a haughty manner, like a tyrant savage at being interrupted.
Oh, the Bishop of Carroll wishes to speak with you.
Son of a bitch.
May the devil take him.
Said she, looking at Philippe gently.
Madame, he has seen the light through the chinks and is making a great noise. Wait, I think that was your line.
I think that was a little French girl.
Yes.
Madame, he has seen the light through the chinks and is making a great noise.
Tell him I have a fever, and you will be telling him no lie. For I am ill of this little priest who is torturing my brain.
And the only cure is my cowbell.
Oh, yeah.
More cowbell.
Ding, ding, ding. But just as she had finished speaking and was pressing with devotion the hand of Philippe, who trembled in his skin, appeared the fat-ass Bishop of Cor, indignant and angry. That son of a bitch. The officers followed him, bearing a trout canonically dressed, fresh from the Rhine. And I'm thinking he looked a lot like a little red Muppet, shining in a golden platter and spices contained in an ornamental boxes with 1,000 dainties, such as liquors and jams made by the holy nuns of his abbey. Kaiser.
What do you want me to do? I've just been waiting.
Where it says,
Aha.
yeah, you're going to be
Who am I reading
the
as?
bishop.
You're the bishop.
You're the
The
bishop.
bishop,
Oh.
we're
haughty
thinking the
bishop.
bishop is looks a little bit like a little red muppet.
Oh,
He's
okay.
yeah.
Said he with his deep voice.
I have time to go to the devil. But you must give me a touch of him in advance. Oh, my little one.
Your belly will one day make a nice sheath for a sword.
Damn.
Replied she, knitting her brows above her eyes, which from being soft and gentle had become mischievous enough to make one tremble.
And this little chorus singer is here to offer that.
Said the bishop, insolently turning his grape rubicund face towards Philippe.
Monseigneur, I'm here to confess, madame.
Oh. Do you know the province? To confess the ladies at the time of night is a right reserved to bishops. So take yourself off. Go in the herd with simple monks and never come back here again on a point of excommunication.
Do not move.
Cried the blushing Imperia, more lovely with passion than she was with love, because now she was possessed both with passion and love.
Stop, my friend. Here you are in your own house.
Then he knew that he was really loved by her.
It is not in the breviary and the evangelical revelation that you should be equal with God in the valley of Jehoshaphat.
Wait a minute. Is that you or supposed to be me?
That's
Yeah.
you.
That's you.
Okay, you, and then you're the next. I'm sorry, I missed that. That's my fault. I'm sorry.
No, that was her.
Yeah, that's her.
That is her.
That
Okay.
was
That's
her.
her.
Okay, so that's supposed to be
Okay,
me.
whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Okay.
You're good.
Is it not in the brevity and the evangelical revelation that you should not be equal with the God in the valley of the Jehoshaphat? Whatever.
She asked of the bishop.
'Tis an invitation of the devil. The holy book.
Replied the great
That was
numbskull of a
ridiculous.
bishop in a hurry to false.
Hold on. Okay. Okay. Well then, be equal now before me, who am here below your goddess.
Replied Imperia.
Otherwise, one of these days I will have you delicately strangled between the head and shoulders. I swear it by the power of my tonsor, which is as good as the Pope's.
And wishing that the trout should be added to the feast, as well as the sweets and other dainties, she added cunningly.
Sit you down and drink with us.
But the artful minx, being up to a trick or two, gave a little one a wink, which told him plainly not to mind this bold German, whom she would soon find a means to be rid of. The servant maid seated the bishop at the table and tucked him up, while Philippe, wild with rage, that closed his mouth because he saw his plans ending in smoke, no ass for you, gave the archbishop 2 more devils than ever were monks alive. Thus they got halfway through the repast, when the young priest had not yet touched, hungering only for Imperia, near whom he was already seated, but speaking that sweet language which the ladies so well understood, that has neither stops, commas, accents, letters, figures, characters, notes, or images. Well, this fat bishop, sensual and careful enough of the sleek ecclesiastical garment of skin which he was indebted to his late mother, allowed him to be plentifully served with hippocras by the delicate hand of Madame, and it was just his first hiccup that the sound of the approaching cavalcade was heard in the street. The number of horses, the ho-ho of pages, showed plainly that some great prince, hot with love, was about to arrive. In fact, a moment afterwards, the Cardinal of Ragusa, against whom the servants of Imperia had not dared to bar the door, entered the room. At this terrible sight, the poor courtesan and her young lover became ashamed and embarrassed like fresh-cured lepers, for it would be tempting the devil to try and oust the cardinal, the more so at the time it was not known who would be pope. 3 aspirants having resigned their hoods for the benefit of Christianity, of course. The cardinal, who was a the cardinal, who was a cunning Italian, long bearded, with a great sophist, and the life and soul of the council, guessed by the feeblest exercise the faculties of his understanding, the alpha and the omega of his adventure. He had only to weigh in his mind one thought before he knew how to proceed in order to be able to hypothecate his manly vigor. He arrived with the appetite of a hungry monk, and to obtain its satisfaction he was just the man to stab 2 monks and sell his bit of the true cross, which of course were wrong. And I'm thinking that would be another one for Kaiser with the Austrian accent there.
Okay. All right, so different character. All right. I don't even know how to read. I'm like, hello, what is that?
Hello, just
friend.
Perfect.
He said to Philip, calling him towards him. The poor Tyrrhenian, more dead than alive, and expecting the devil was about to interfere seriously with his arraignments, rose and said,
What is it?
To the redoubtable cardinal.
Oh my God.
He'd taken him by the arm, led him to a staircase, looked him in the white of the eye, and said without any nonsense, Vertitude.
Enshrined. You're a nice little fellow. I should not like to have let your master know the way to your carcass. My revenge might cause a certain pious expenses in the old age. So choose to espouse the abbey in the remainder of your days, or to marry madam tonight and die tomorrow. Yeah, get to the altar.
Dang. That's a
The poor
shotgun
little
wedding.
Tyrrhenian in despair murmured,
May I come back when your passion is over?
well, the
Don't
cardinal
hit me.
could scarcely keep his countenance, but he said sternly,
Choose the gallows or mitre.
said the little priest.
A good fat abbey.
Therein, the cardinal went back into the room, opened an escritoire, and scribbled upon a piece of parchment an order to the envoy of France.
Monsignor,
Said the little Tyrrhenian to him while he was spelling out the order.
you will not get rid of the Bishop of Course so easily as you have got rid of me. For he is, well, he's a fat ass. And the soldiers are drinking shops in the town. Besides, he's in favor of his lord. Now I fancy you to show my gratitude for this so fine abbey. I owe you a good piece of advice. You know how fatal has been, and how rapidly it spread, this terrible pestilence which has cruelly hastened Paris. Tell him that you have just left the bedside of your old friend the Archbishop of Bordeaux. Thus you would make him scutter away like straw before a whirlwind.
Oh,
Cried the cardinal.
thou marriest none more than the abbey. I've been trading, my friend. Here are 100 golden crowns for thy journey to the abbey of Tupene, which I won yesterday at cards, and which I will make you a free gift.
This is awesome.
Oh, you want this? I wanted it cards last night. There you go, kid.
Yeah.
And hearing these words, seeing Philippe de Malade disappear without giving her the amorous glances she expected, the beautiful Imperia, puffing like a little dolphin, denounced all the cowardice of the priest. She was not then sufficiently good Catholic to pardon her lover, deceiving her by not knowing how to die for her pleasure. Thus the death of Philippe was foreshadowed in the viper's glance she cast at him to insult him, which glance pleased the cardinal much, for this wily Italian saw he would soon get his abbey back again. The Tyrrhenian, heeding not the brewing storm, avoided it by walking out silently with his ears down like a wet dog being kicked out of a church. Madame drew a sigh from her heart. She must have had her own ideas of humanity, for the little value she held in it. The fire which possessed her had mounted to her head and scintillated.
Scintillated.
I like the way you say that.
Scintillated.
And raised about her.
Scintillated.
Raised about her.
Yes.
There was a good reason for it, for this was the first time she had been humbugged by a priest. Then Cardinal smiled, believing it was all to his advantage. Was not he a cunning fellow? Yes, he was the possessor of a red hat.
Kaiser.
Cardinal.
Oh,
You're the cardinal.
Okay, so
Austrian.
So you're going to have to switch between two of them because you have the cardinal and the bishop is the little red guy.
Right, I get it. Okay, all right. I was just trying to make sure. I'm like, which one am I reading first? I'm like, I'm not entirely sure. Said to the bishop. So
You're reading the cardinal first.
Okay.
My friend, I congratulate myself on being in your company. I'm glad to have been able to get rid of that little wretch, unworthy of madam. The more so as if you had gone near him, my lovely and amiable creature, you would have perished miserably under the deed of the simple priest.
How?
He's the secretary of Archbishop of Bordeaux, the good man who was seized this morning with the pestilence.
The bishop opened his mouth wide enough to swallow a Dutch cheese.
How do you know that?
Asked he. Said the cardinal, taking the good German's hand.
I have just administered him and console him. At this moment, the holy man is a fair wind to waft him to paradise.
The Bishop of Cour demonstrated immediately how light fat men are, for being men are big-bellied. A merciful providence in the consideration of their works often makes their internal tubes as elastic as balloons. The aforesaid bishop sprang backwards with one bound, burst into perspiration, and coughed like a cow who finds feathers mixed with her hay. Then, becoming suddenly pale, he rushed down the stairs without even bidding Madame adieu. When the door had closed upon the bishop and he was fairly in the street, the Cardinal of Ragusa began laughing fit to split his sides.
My fair one, I am not worthy to be pope, and only that, better than that, thy lover this evening.
But seeing Imperia thoughtfully approached her to take her in his arms and pet her, after the usual fashion of cardinals, men who embrace better than all others, even the soldiers, because they are lazy and do not spare their essential properties. That's you, lady. Nocturna.
Where is she? Is she there?
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. I'm back. Yeah.
Okay.
She was so excited by this.
I was like, excuse me for a minute. I was busy. Okay. All right.
It's okay. I'm not. I have had a hard time keeping track tonight too.
All right.
It's like, who am I reading as now?
Here.
What?
Huh.
She said, drawing back.
You wish to cause my death, you classical idiot. The principal thing for you is to enjoy yourself, my sweet carcass. A sweet a thing accessory. Your pleasure will be my death, and then you'll canonize me. What the fuck?
Canonize.
Canonize me, perhaps. Okay, that's better. Have the plague. You have the plague. And
you got
would
the
give it to
herpes.
me? Go somewhere else, you brainless priest. Touch me not,
said she, seeing him about to advance.
or I will stab you with this dagger.
And that there clever hussy drew from her armoire a little dagger which she knew how to use with great skill when necessary.
But my little paradise, my sweet one,
said the other, laughing.
Do not see the trick. Was it necessary to be rid of that old bullock of coil?
Well then, if you love me, show it.
She replied.
I desire that you leave me instantly. If you are touched with this disease, my death will not worry you. I know you well enough to know at what price you will put a moment of pleasure at your last hour. You would drown the earth. You have boasted of it when drunk. I love only myself, my treasures, and my health. Go, and if tomorrow your veins are not frozen by the disease, you can come again. Today I hate you, good cardinal.
She said, smiling.
Imperial!
Cried the cardinal on his
My blessed Imperial, do not play with me thus. No.
I'm surprised he said thus because I saw it said, do not play with my nuts, is what I thought it said.
Well, we all know, I mean, poor Arnold. I mean, he had it made, then he had his maid, and then it was all downhill from there.
Yeah.
And because the next line is even better.
No. I never played with blessed and sacred things.
Brave old woman, I will communicate thee now.
And now you are out of your cardinal sense.
Imperia, Geist, daughter of Satan. Now, oh, my little beauty, my love.
Respect yourself more. Don't kneel to me, fie, for shame. This is a lot.
Wilt thou of dispensation on Actula Mortis? Wilt thou have my fortune, or better still, a bit of the invertible true cross? Wilt thou get to the chapel?
This evening, all the wealth of heaven above and earth beneath would not buy my heart,
said she, laughing.
I should be the blackest of sinners, unworthy to receive the blessed sacrament, if I had not my little caprices.
I'll burn this house down. Sorceress, you bewitched me. You shall perish in the stake. Listen to me, my love, my gentle dove. I promise you the best place in heaven. Now, death to you then. Death to the sorceress.
Awesome. Okay, hold on. I gotta get myself together, Dave. It's so toxic. It is awesome. Oh, I will kill you, Monsieur.
And the cardinal foamed with rage. This is her.
You are making a fool of yourself.
Yeah, sorry.
Said she. Go away. You'll tire yourself.
I shall be the Pope. You shall pay for this.
Then you are no longer disposed to obey me.
What can I do this evening to please you?
Get out.
And she sprang lightly like a wagtail into her room and locked herself in, leaving that evil cardinal to storm when he was obliged to go. When the fair Imperia found herself alone, seated before the fire and without her little priest, she exclaimed, snapping angrily at the gold links of her change by the
double, triple horn on the devil. If the little one has made me have this is her. Okay, hold on. If the little one has made me have this row with the cardinal and exposed me to the danger of being poisoned tomorrow unless I pay him over my heart's content, I will not die till I have seen him burned alive before my eyes.
She said, weeping this time with real tears.
I lead thy most unhappy life, and the little pleasure I have costs me this life of a dog, let alone my salvation.
As she finished this germaid, wailing like a calf that is being slaughtered, she beheld the blushing face of the young priest who had hidden himself, peeping at her from behind her large Venetian mirror.
Sweet.
Thou art the most perfect monk that has ever dwelt in this blessed and amorous town of Constance. Come, my gentle cavalier, my dear boy, my little charm, my paradise of delectation. Let me drink thine eyes, eat thee, kill thee with my love. Oh, my ever flourishing, evergreen zephyr, eternal God. From a little monk, I would take a king, emperor, pope, and happier than ever.
So it's been a while.
There thou canst put anything to fire and sword. I am thine, and thou shalt see it well. For thou shalt be all cardinal, baby. Even to when the red in thy hood I shed my heart's blood. Ew. There you go.
Yeah, she's not a virgin, though.
No.
And with her trembling hands, all joyously she filled with Greek wine the golden cup brought by the Bishop of Coyer, and presented it to her sweetheart, whom she served upon her knee. She, whose slipper princes found more to their taste than that of the Pope, but he gazed at her in silence, with his eyes so lustrous with love, that she said to him, trembling with joy,
Aha, be quiet, little one. Let us have supper.
Beefcake.
served on her knees.
That's
yeah,
right.
baby. Served on her knees.
Oh, my.
Yeah, get down, baby. Yeah.
Yeah, these are some pretty good ones. Good job,
I
Diva.
like it.
I will
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
This is cool.
I was like, find me old, naughty, dirty short stories.
We haven't even butchered these.
And
Impressive.
No.
You don't have
I
to.
know.
Crazy,
You don't
right?
have to.
Good, yeah.
There's
Got a lot of.
Jack Black is like, get on the chopper.
Do it now.
Do it now. Yay.
Well, that argument was beautiful between you two. I loved it.
Hmm.
Monsieur Brun, who had completed the castle of Roche-Carbon-les-Vauvray on the banks of the Loire, was a boisterous fellow in his youth. When quite little, he squeezed young ladies,
Mhm.
turned the house out of
Well.
windows, and played the devil with everything. When he was called upon to put his sire, the Baron Roche-Carbon, some few feet under the turf, then he was his own master, free to leave a life of wild dissipation. Indeed, he worked very hard to surfeit of enjoyment. Now, by making his crowns sweat and his goods scarce, draining his land and bleeding his hogsheds and regaling flail beauties, he found himself excommunicated from decent society, and had for his friends only the plunders of towns and the Lombardians. But the ushers turned rough and bitter as chestnut husks, and when no other security to give them, then he said, estate of Roche-Carbon, since the Roups Carbonus was held from our Lord the King, then Bruin found himself just in the humor to give a blow here and there,
Well,
to break a collarbone or two, and quarrel about everyone with a trifle, seen of which the abbot of Marmosators, his neighbor, and a man liberal with his advice, told him that it was a evident sign of lordly perfection that he was walking in the right road. But if he would go and slaughter to the great glory of God the Mohammedans, and who defiled the Holy Land, we're talking about holy wars here now, it would be better still that he would undoubtedly return full of wealth and indulgences to Touraine or into paradise, and whence all barons formerly came, said the Bruin, admiring the great sense of prelate, left the country equipped by the monastery and blessed by the abbot, to the great delights of his friends and neighbors. Then he put to the sack enough many towns of Asia, Africa, fell upon the infidels without giving them warning, burning the Syrians, the Greeks, the English, and everybody else that he could, caring little whether they were friends or enemies or where in hell they came from, since among his merits he had that way of in no way being curious. He never questioned them until after he killed them. At this business, agreeable to God, to the king, and to himself, Bruin gained renown as a good Christian, loyal knight. He enjoyed himself thoroughly in these lands beyond the seas, since the more willingly gave a crown to the girls than to the poor. Although he met more poor people than perfect maids, but like a good Tyrrhenian, he made soup of anything, and at length, when he was satiated with the Turks, relics, and other blessings of the Holy Land, Bruin, to his great astonishment of the people, the Varillians, returned to the Crusades laden with crowns and precious stones, rather differently from some who, rich when they set out, came back heavy with leprosy, but light with gold. On his return from Tunis, our Lord King Philip made him a count and appointed him a seneschal in our country of that of Poitou, when he was greatly beloved and properly thought of well, since over and above his good qualities founded the church of Condolas, in the parish of Ingolnos, and I'm not going to pronounce any of these words right, so I'm all mealy-mouthed, as a peace offering to the heavens for the follies of his youth. Thus he was cardinally consigned to the good graces of the church of God. From a wicked youth, reckless man, he became a good, wise man, and discreet in his dissipations and pleasures, rarely was in anger, unless someone blasphemed God before him, in which he would not tolerate because he had blasphemed enough. You know, in his wild youth. In short, he never quarreled because, being sensual, people gave up to him instantly. It is true, he at a time beheld all his desires accomplished, in which he would render even an imp of Satan calm and tranquil from his horns to his heels, and besides this, he possessed a castle all jagged at the corners and shaped and pointed like a Spanish doublet, situated upon a bank from which he was reflected in the Loire. The rooms were royal tapestries, furniture, saccharine pomps, vanities, inventions which were admired by people of Tours, and even by the archbishop and clerks of St. Martin, to whom he sent a free gift, a banner fringed with fine gold. In the neighborhood of said castle abound fair domains, windmills, forests, yielding a harvest of rents of all kinds, so that he was one of the strongest knights banneret of the province, and could easily have led to battle for our lord the king 1,000 men in his old days. And if by chance his bailiff, a diligent man at hanging, brought before him a poor peasant suspected of some offense, he would say, smiling,
Volstorm. Well, everyone's muted. I'll be a dude.
I'm right here. I mean, I just had
oh,
my
well,
opinion.
Sorry. I was
You
like,
gotta
where am
speak
I
up.
at?
You
Right here.
let this one go.
All right. Let this one go, Bredith. He will count against those he considerately slotted across the seas.
Oftentimes, however, he would let them bravely hang on a chestnut tree or swing on his gallows, but this was solely that justice might be done and that the custom should not lapse his domain. Thus the people of his lands were good and orderly, like fresh-veiled nuns, and peaceful, since he protected them from robbers and vagabonds, whom he never spared, knowing by experience how much mischief is caused by these cursed beasts of prey. For the rest, most devout, finishing everything quickly, his prayers as well as good wine. He managed the processes after the Turkish fashion, having 1,000 little jokes ready for the losers, and dining with them to console them. He had all the people who had been hanged buried in consecrated ground like godly ones, and some people thinking that they had been sufficiently punished by having their breath stopped. He only persecuted the Jews now and then, and when they were gluttoned with usury and wealth, he led them to gather their spoils as bees do honey, saying that they were best of tax gatherers, and never did he despoil them, save for the profit and use of the churchmen, the king, the province, or himself. This jovial way gained for him the affection and esteem of everyone, great and small. If he came back smiling from his judicial throne, the abbot of Montessors, an old man like himself, Kaiser, would say,
Okay. All right. I don't even know what to do. Voice to you. Oh God.
Hell, use one you've already used. It's fine. You're happy.
I don't know.
Oh,
Yes.
There. There is some hanging on since you left thus.
And then, coming from Rajagabon's detours, he passed on horseback along the Faubourg and the little girls would say, little girls,
Oh, this is the Justice Day. There is the good man brewing.
and without being afraid, they would look at him astride on a big white hack, and he had brought back with him from Levant. On the bridge, the little boys would stop playing with the ball and would call out, "Good day, Mr. Cecil," and he would reply jokingly,
Enjoy yourselves, my children, until you get wet.
Also, he had made the country so contented and so free from robbers that during the year of the great overflowing of the Loire, there were only 22 malefactors hanged that winter, not counting a Jew burned at the commune of Chateau for having stolen a consecrated
God.
wafer or bought it. Some said he was very rich. One day in the following year, about harvest time or mowing time, as we say in Touraine, there came Egyptians, Bohemians, and other wandering troops who stole holy things from the church of St. Martin, and in the place the exact situation Madame the Virgin left by the way of insult and mockery to our holy faith, an abandoned pretty little girl about the age of an old dog, stark naked, an acrobat, and of Moorish descent like themselves. For this almost nameless crime, it was equally decided by the king, people, and the churchmen that the Moorists who pay for it all should be burned and cooked alive in the square near the fountain where the herb market is. Then the good old man Bruin clearly and dexterously demonstrated to the others that it would be a thing most profitable and pleasant to God to gain over this African soul to the true religion if the devil were lodged in this feminine body. The fagots would be useless to burn him, and as said the order, to which the Archbishop Sadly thought most canonical and comfortable to Christian charity. In the Gospels, the ladies of the town and other persons of authority said loudly that they were cheated out of a fine ceremony, since the Mooress was crying her eyes out in jail and would certainly be converted to God in order to live as long as a crow, if she were allowed to do so, to which the censor replied that if the foreigner would wholly commit herself to the Christian religion, there would be a gallant ceremony of another kind, and that he would undertake that it would be royally magnificent, because he would be her sponsor at the baptismal front, and the Virgin should be his partner in the affair in order to better please the Almighty, while himself was reputed never to have lost the bloom or innocence, in fact to be a concubine. In other country of Touraine, thus are called the young virgin men, unmarried or so esteemed to distinguish them from husbands and from the widowers, but the girls always pick them without the name, because they are more light-hearted and merry, or just a little sweet slippers, little light in the loafers. The young Moors did not hesitate.
Hi.
Between the flaming fagots and the baptismal water, ice.
The fagos.
It sure does.
Phrasing.
She much
There you
preferred
go.
to be a Christian and live than be an Egyptian and be burned. Thus, to escape a moment's baking, her heart would burn unquenched through her life, since for the greater surety of her religion she was placed at the convent of nuns near Charteron, where she took the vow of sanctity, and the said ceremony was concluded at the residence of the Archbishop, where on this occasion have more feasts to make merrier than any of the whole world. The good old Sensual had taken this for associated the daughter of the Lord Asie Riddell, which afterwards became Asie de Brussels, which the Lord, being Crusader, was left before Acre, a far distant town, in the hands of Saccharin, and this is killing me.
Would you like someone to take over?
Oh, yes, please.
Yes. The Lady of Azay, having given his estate as security to the Lombards and extortioners in order to raise the sum, remained without a penny in the world, awaiting her lord in a poor lodging in the town, without a carpet to sit upon, but proud as the Queen of Sheba, and brave as a mastiff who defends the property of his master. Seeing this great distress, the censor went delicately to request his lady's daughter to be the godmother of the said Egyptian, in order that he might have the right of assisting the lady of Azay. And in fact, he kept a heavy chain of gold, which he had preserved since the commencement of taking of Cyprus, and the which he determined to clasp about the neck of his pretty associate. But he hung there at the same time his domain and his white hairs, his money and his horses. In short, he placed there everything he possessed. Directly he had seen Blanche of Achay dancing a pavane among the ladies of Tours, although the Moorish girl, making the most of her last day, had astonished the assembly by her twists, jumps, steps, springs, and elevations and artistic efforts.
She was flexible.
Blanche had the advantage of her, and, as everyone agreed, so virginally and delicately did she dance.
Ooh.
Now Bruin, admiring this gentle maiden, whose toes seemed to fear the boards, and who amused herself so innocently for 17 years, like a grasshopper trying her first note, was seized with an old man's desire. A desire apoplectic and vigorous from weakness, which heated him from the sole of foot to the nape of his neck. For in his head too much snow on top of it to let love lodge there. Then the good man perceived that he needed a wife in his manner, and it appeared more lonely to him than it was. And what then was a castle without a chatelaine? As well have a clapper without its bell. In short, a wife.
Cowbell.
A wife was
More
the
cowbell.
one thing that he had to desire. So he wished to have it one promptly, seeing that if the lady of Azay made him wait, he had just time to pass out of this world and into another. But during the baptismal entertainment, he thought this little of his severed wounds and less of the 80 years that had stripped his head. Dang, he's old. He found his eyes clear enough to see distinctly his young companion, who, following the injunctions of the lady of Azay, regaled him well with glance and gesture, believing there could be no danger near so old a fellow, in such wise that Blanche, naive and nice as she was, in contradistinction to the girls of Touraine, who were as wide awake as a spring morning.
Oh, but they were.
Yeah.
Permitted the good man first to kiss her hand, and afterwards her neck, rather low down, at least so said the archbishop, who married them the week after, and that it was a beautiful bridal, and still more beautiful bride. The said Blanche was slender and graceful as no other girl, and still better than that, more maidenly than ever maiden was, a maiden all ignorant of love, who knew not why or what it was, a maiden who wondered why certain people lingered in their bed,
I bet she do.
a maiden who believed that children were found in parsley beds. Her mother had thus reared her innocence, without even allowing her to consider, trifle as it was, how she sucked on her soup between her teeth. Thus she was a sweet flower and intact, joyous and innocent, an angel, who needed but the wings to fly away to paradise.
Gotta wipe the dew off the lily.
That's right. That's how it comes into the parsley beds. When she left the poor lodging of her weeping mother to consummate her betrothal at the cathedral of Saint Gatine and Saint Maurice,
Sounds more like a sacrifice.
I know.
I know. Doesn't
You
it?
see it. You see
Virgin
it however you
sacrifice,
want.
there we go.
Yes.
Yeah. Pretty much.
The country people came to a feast, to feast their eyes upon the bride, and on the carpets which were laid down all along the Rue de la Soleil.
Ooh, say
And-
it again.
I cannot say that again because I
I could tell that was a total shot in the dark.
It
was.
Continue.
and all
You
that
have to-
said that never had tinier feet pressed the ground of terrain. Prettier eyes gazed up to heaven, and a more splendid festival adorned the streets with carpets and flowers. The young girls of Saint Martin and of the boroughs of Chateau d'Oeuf all envied the long brown tresses with which doubtless Blanche had fished for account. Much more did they desire the gold embroidered dress, the foreign stones, the white diamonds, and the chains with which the little darling played, and which bound her forever to the said Sensual. The old soldier was so merry by her side that his happiness showed itself in his wrinkles, his looks, his movements. Although he was hardly as straight as a billhook, he held himself so by the side of Blanche that one would have taken him for a soldier on parade receiving his officer, and he placed in his hand on his diaphragm like a man whose pleasure stifles and troubles him. Delighted with the sound of swinging bells, the procession, the pomps, the vanities of the said marriage, which was talked of long after the episcopal rejoicings, the women desired a harvest of Moorish girls. Wow.
What?
Interesting.
Interesting.
Okay.
Jeez.
A deluge of old
I'm
sensuals
uncomfortable.
and baskets full of Egyptian baptisms. But this was only one that ever happened in Touraine, seeing that that country is far from Egypt and from Bohemia. The Lady of Azay received a large sum of money after the ceremony, which enabled her to start immediately for Acre, to go to her spouse, accompanied by the lieutenant and soldiers of the Count de Roche-Cabon, who finished with them everything necessary. She set out on the day of the wedding, after having placed her daughter in the hands of the Sensual, enjoining him to treat her well. And later on she returned with the Sire d'Azay, who was leprous, and she cured him, tending him herself, running the risk of being contaminated, which was greatly admired.
Jeez.
The marriage ceremony finished and at end, for it lasted 3 days, to the great contentment of the people. Monsieur Brun, with great pomp, led the little one to his castle, and according to the custom of husbands, had her put solemnly to bed in his couch, which was blessed by the abbot of Montemoussu, then came and placed himself beside her in a great feudal chamber of Roche-Cabon, which he had been hung with great green brocade and ribbon of golden wire. When old Byron, perfumed all over, found himself side by side with his pretty wife, he kissed her first upon the forehead, and then upon the little round white breast, on the same spot where she had allowed him to clasp the fastenings of the chain. But that was all. The old fellow had too great confidence in himself and fancying himself able to accomplish more.
Well, I'm done.
It was her fault.
So then he abstained from love in spite of the merry nuptial songs, the epithalamiums and jokes which were going on in the rooms beneath where the dancing was still kept up. He refreshed himself with a drink of the marriage beverage which, according to custom, had been blessed and placed near a golden cup. The spices warmed his stomach well enough, but not the heart of his dead ardor. Blanche was not at all.
There ain't no Viagra in that cup, boy.
Yeah.
Ain't getting up anyway.
Blanche.
I'm sorry, sir. Your 2 minutes is up.
Blanche was
tired.
not
Dropped
at
a few
all
more coins in the
astonished
slot.
by the demeanor. She was not all astonished by the demeanor of her spouse, because she was a virgin in mind, and in marriage she saw only that which is visible to the eyes of young girls, namely dresses, banquets, horses, to be a lady and mistress, to have country seat, to amuse oneself and give orders. So, like the child that she was, she played with the gold tassels on the bed, and
I bet she did.
marveled at the richness of the shrine in which her innocence should be interred. Feeling a little later in the day his culpability, and relying on the future, which, however, would spoil a little every day that which he pretended to regale his wife, the sensual tried to substitute the word for the deed.
Oh, jeez.
In other words, he
So-
talked a
Just
big
don't.
game, but
I'll just talk dirty to you.
So he entertained his wife in various ways, promised her the keys of his sideboards, his granaries and his chests, the perfect government of his houses and domains without any control, hanging round her neck the other half of the loaf, which was a popular saying in Touraine. She became like a young charger full of hay, found her good man the most gallant fellow in the world, and raising herself upon her pillow began to smile, and beheld with greater joy than this beautiful green brocaded bed, where henceforth she would be permitted without any sin to sleep every night. Seeing she was getting playful, the cunning lord, who had not been used to maidens, but knew from experience the little tricks that women will practice,
Mm-hmm.
seeing that he had much associated with ladies of the town, he feared those handy tricks, little kisses, and minor amusements of love, which formerly he did not object to, but which at the present time would have found him cold as the obit of a pope. Then he drew back towards the end of the bed, afraid of his happiness, and said to his too delectable spouse,
well, darling, you are Essential's wife now, and a very well Essential as well.
I was going to go with Hank Hill, but okay. That's great.
Oh, God.
Oh no!
said she.
How now?
Replied he in great fear.
Are you not a wife?
No,
Said she.
nor shall I be till I have a child.
Did you, while coming here, see the meadows?
Began again the old fellow,
Oh, yes.
said she.
Well, those are yours now.
Oh,
Replied she, laughing.
I shall amuse myself much there catching butterflies.
That's a good girl. In the woods?
Damn. Hold on. I'm recovering from Grandpa.
Line crossed.
Oh, I should not like to be there alone. You will take me there? But
Said she.
give me a little of that liquor, which La Pagnouse has taken such pains to prepare for us.
And why, my darling? It would put fire in your belly.
Ooh, that's what I should like.
Said she, biting her lip with vexation.
Because I desire to give you a child as soon as possible. And I'm sure that liquor is good for the purpose.
You have no idea. Ah, my little one.
Said the sensual, knowing by this that Blanche was a virgin from head to foot.
The goodwill of God is necessary for this business, and women must be in a state of harvest.
What the?
Time out. I'm uncomfortable.
Wow.
Oh, Lord.
I didn't write it, so hit the mute button.
I know. It's funny. It's funny. I just have to say wow for a second because
Oh,
okay.
Lord have mercy.
All right, let's go. Let's see. We put fire on my body. Is it?
I need an adult.
And when? Yes.
And when should I be in a state of harvest?
When nature sows, we'll sit.
Said he, trying not to laugh.
What is necessary to do for this?
Replied
A Kabbalistic and alchemical operation which is very dangerous.
said she with a dreamy look.
That's the reason my mother cried when she was thinking of the said metamorphosis. But Bertha de Broglie, who is so thankful for being thankful for being made a wife, told me it was the easiest thing in the world.
Well, that's according to the age.
Replied the old lord.
But did you see at the stable the beautiful white mare so much spoken of in Terrain?
Wow. Okay. Yes, she's very gentle and nice.
Well, I'll give her to you, and you can ride her as often as the fancy takes you.
Oh, you are very kind, and they did not lie when they told me so.
Here,
continued he.
Sweetheart, the butler, the chaplain, the treasurer, the equerry, the farrier, the bailiff, even the Sire de Montsoreau, the young Varlet, whose name is Gautier, and bears my banner, with his men-at-arms, captains, followers, and beasts. Surely somebody can knock you up. All are yours, and will instantly obey your orders under pain of being incommoded with a hempen collar.
Kinky.
Replied she.
This mysterious operation, can it not be performed immediately?
Oh, no.
Replied the sensual.
Because it is necessary above all things that both the one and the other of us should be in a state of grace before God. Otherwise, we will have a bad child, full of sin, as if it's not going to be already, which is forbidden by the canons of the church. This is the reason that there are so many incorrigible scapegraces in the world. Their parents have not wisely waited to have their souls pure, and having given wicked souls to their children, the beautiful and virtuous come of immaculate fathers. That is why we cause our beds to be blessed, as the abbot of Marmoset.
Marmosets?
Yeah,
No,
marmosets. We
it's
call
not
them
quite
abbot
that.
marmosets.
Has done this one. Have you not transgressed the ordinance of the church?
Oh no,
she said quickly.
I have received before Mass absolution for all my faults, and I have remained since without committing the slightest of sin.
Oh, you are perfect.
Said the cunning lord.
and I am delighted to have you for a wife. But I have sworn like an infidel.
Oh, and why?
Because the dancing did not finish, and I could not have you to myself to bring you here and kiss you.
And thereupon he gallantly took her hands and covered them with kisses, whispering to her little endearments and superficial words of affection which made her quite pleased and contented. Then, fatigued with the dance and all the ceremonies, she settled down to her slumbers, saying to the sensual,
I will take care tomorrow that you shall not sin.
and she left the old man quite smitten with her white beauty, amorous of her delicate nature, and as embarrassed to know how he should be able to keep her in her innocence as to explain why oxen chew their food twice over. Although he did not augur to himself any good therefrom, it inflamed him so much to see the exquisite perfections of Blanche during her innocent and gentle sleep, that he resolved to preserve and defend this pretty jewel of love. With tears in his eyes, he kissed her sweet golden tresses, the beautiful eyelids, and her ripe red mouth, and he did it softly for fear of waking her. There was all his fruition, the dumb delight which still inflamed his heart, without in the least affecting Blanche. Then he deplored the snows of his leafless old age, the poor old man, that he saw clearly that God had amused himself by giving him nuts when his teeth were gone.
Let me put these on the dresser.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Can't get it up.
Dang, Diva, you look so good.
Oh, thank you, Miss Nocturna.
Diva's always looks lovely. She just runs through. She runs through a wind tunnel and then just looks gorgeous afterwards.
It pisses me off.
Totally what
really have to work
Oh,
for
y'all
that.
act like it takes that much effort. Jeez.
That's what I'm saying. She runs.
I'm
through
like,
a wind
that
tunnel.
is not the woman that went into the bathroom. She's completely changed.
I don't know what you're talking about. I decided I was going to turn the camera on today. So, you know.
Yeah, it don't matter. She still looks good.
Oh my gosh. Oh, make sure that you doll up to all of these wonderful characters we have here tonight. We've got Caliber and character where Volin Dictionary Diva promised to live stream the full works of Arthur Conan Doyle, and they call it no shit, Sherlock.
That would be kind of fun, actually. That would be a good idea. That's a
I
good
love that
idea.
idea.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And you can follow both Volstorm and Dictionary Diva over at Caliber and Character. And you've got Kaiser Pineapple that you can follow over at Kaiser Pineapple. So if you guys will throw it out there it is, right there. He's a good guy. It's not what you think.
Don't worry, the pineapple's turned up the right way.
It's correct.
It's
And Miss Nocturna, she shows up whenever she damn well feels like it. Don't you sons of bitches start with her. She'll cut you.
Okay, it'll be more consistent now. I had some things to deal with, y'all, and you will start seeing a channel very soon. We're working on that right now, actually.
Sweet. I love it.
Maybe
Take
a
your time.
podcast as well. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I want an invite. That's for damn sure.
Well, absolutely. Yes, definitely. It's just been a little bit. There's been some things, but I love being here and we're working on it. Yeah, life been lifing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Lifing. And for the rest of you fine folks, I will catch you guys tomorrow morning, bright and early. I'll be bushy-tailed and cheerful.
Doing your thing.
I'll see you guys.
Do your thing.
Good night, y'all.
Bye.
Night, y'all.
Peace.
Bye.
what you want. Come feel this sensation. Sliding smooth and low like a secret invitation. So smooth. Every tone whisper soft. Can you feel it? The undertow. Pull me closer, baby. You know where I wanna go. Ooh, feel it, baby, nice and slow. Yeah, I let your rhythm consume my soul. Yeah. Yeah, listen to my sweet surrender. Now that feels so soft, I know, so tender. Let your body sway, baby, my voice has you glide.